Hey guys, it's Holly. So today I wanted to have a look at the brand new LEGO Star Wars Imperial Shuttle, which is set 75302 and has 660 pieces. So this set is kind of expensive in my opinion at 130 Australian dollars, 70 US dollars and 70 Great British pounds. So this is another one of those kind of downsized, smaller scale Star Wars ships that we've seen a lot in 2021. So far we've had an Imperial TIE Fighter as well as Luke's X-Wing, and this is kind of the next one in that lineup that releases on March 1st. I've been really excited for this set, so let's have a look at it and see what it's like. So here is the entire Imperial Shuttle, and my first kind of thoughts when I built it was that it was a lot shorter and a bit smaller than I expected. On the box it looked a lot larger, and I know that this is kind of a downsized, downscaled model, but it just surprised me at how small this actually is and kind of how short and stumpy this middle panel on the ship actually is. But before we have a look at the ship, let's have a look at these minifigures. So first up is Luke Skywalker, and yes, he does come with his green lightsaber. No need to worry, LEGO got it right. And he also does come with a pair of grey handcuffs. Now Luke is the exact same as we see him in the Death Star final duel. There's not too much interesting or exclusive or exciting here. I do wish though that, I know that this hairpiece is pretty accurate, but I wish LEGO would update it sometime. It just looks way too outdated, I think, now. But also the fact that you can still see part of his other side to his face is kind of frustrating to me. It's annoying. You can see his chin and it really just ruins kind of the immersion of the character. But besides that, this figure's pretty stock standard. Looks exactly like Luke from Return of the Jedi otherwise, but you can get him in other sets. He's not that exciting. The most exciting figure in this set is, of course, Darth Vader, who does come with his red lightsaber. But even with this Darth Vader, he could have been better, as he does not have that updated arm printing that we saw last year in both the Bespin duel as well as the Death Star final duel. And to me, I think that's because this set is at a cheaper price point. Yes, the Bespin duel was a cheap set. However, it was an exclusive set. It was supposed to be kind of a Star Wars celebration exclusive. It wasn't meant to be a regular retail set, which is why I think that this one doesn't come with the arm printing. So it is quite a disappointment to see this figure pop up without the arm printing. Like, we have a perfect version of Darth Vader now with arm printing. Let's utilize him. Let's not just leave him for expensive sets. But otherwise, this Darth Vader is still pretty good. He's got a nice face print. He's got that new helmet, which does come apart, which also looks really cool. But yeah, it's just a disappointment not to see the arm printing being utilized here. And lastly, we just get a regular Imperial Officer who comes with a small black blaster, and he looks pretty cool. He looks very generic and standard. There's not too much interesting about him. He has got a tiny bit of printing on his hat and a little microphone on his face, but that's about it. It is just kind of stock standard figure. Not too interesting, but works well with the set. So here is the Imperial Shuttle, and I've had to prop it up quite a lot to actually be able to display it in its flight position. I've put a bunch of clear pieces onto the base of the shuttle and then put that onto a small container so that you can see it kind of in its flight mode. I'm too scared though to rotate it in the position that it's in, so I will pick it up and kind of hold it like this to show you. But overall, my first impressions upon building the set are it's a lot smaller than I expected. Looking at the box, I did expect it to be quite bigger, and there are disadvantages and advantages to this being the case. On one hand, we have kind of like the people who are going to play with this set, young kids, and for that I think that this downsized model is fantastic. I think it's a lot better, it's a lot lighter, which means it's going to be easier to kind of lift around and play with. You're not really going to matter too much about kind of the design of the wings. There is enough space in this ship as well to fit all three minifigures in at once, which is good. You have got a few play features, you've got some stud shooters at the bottom, but in terms of a Star Wars set that hits both playability and displayability, I do think that it misses the mark slightly. I'm really glad that there's no stickers in this set. There is only one printed piece, which is lovely, but I think for myself, who like to collect and display their sets, this kind of misses the mark. I don't think it has the same charm that the X-Wing that was released in January has, where it was both suited for playability and displayability. I think this one, it does have kind of a few shortfalls, and I think definitely when it's in this flight position, it looks a lot better because you can't see the flaws with the wings on either side. You can't see see this kind of build at the bottom, which we're definitely going to talk about and take a closer look later as well. I mean, if you put this up on a higher shelf, you're going to be able to see it, and I think it will ruin it. So I guess it just falls a bit short. Yes, you can display it, but I feel like it could have been done better. And in some cases, I feel like a bigger version of this set would have benefited it. I don't think it works quite as well being one of those scaled down sized models unless you are purely using this for play. But let's have a much closer look at it and take it off this kind of flight display stand I've built. So now that it's in its landing position, you can see a lot more what I mean by just the design of it. I don't like this wing design at all in its landing position, and that's ideally how I was planning on displaying this set was in its landing position. So to see the backside of these wings looking very unfinished with a lot of exposed plates, and also just kind of how skinny they are, is such a shame. I think the big thing for me is being able to see all of these light gray pieces and Technic pieces poking through because they're just not in white basically. And I wish there was some sort of inverted brick placed on here in some way, shape or form, whether that just be just across here or maybe up in the corners. It just does not look very finished off in this landing position, and that's one of the problems I have with this set. I also think that the kind of way it's made and supposed to be standing up is kind of wobbly. It's all built up on these little Technic pieces here at the bottom. These two are like the little feet, and then you've got one here, and it just feels kind of off balance. I wish that there was two of these on either side to kind of make it a bit more stable, but I mean, I guess it's good for display. Play-wise, I'm not too sure. It's also quite hard to kind of grab this ship unless you're going to be grabbing it from the underside, because if you grab the top, then this part will pop off, and if you grab the fin here, this entire section can come loose because of how you kind of open it up on the inside. This back section as well, I do find kind of flimsy. I haven't had anything fall off, not nearly as much as I did with the X-Wing, but that is something I'd say to look out for. In terms of design as well, you do have cannons on either side, both on the wing and at the front, as well as that stud shooter, but the biggest problem I think for me is the part underneath the cockpit. Now, when I bring you in close here, it's a lot easier to kind of see what I mean. This entire ship is built up using Technic bricks, and that really disadvantages it here because it just makes the cockpit look so incredibly skinny. When you open it up, yep, you can fit figures in there. Yeah, when it closes, it looks all right, but only when you're looking at it from the top. And even on the box, you can see this giant, bulky Technic build, and it just does not look very good or clean at all. I think it would have been better if these pieces were all in white. It definitely would have made it blend in a bit better, but even then, I think it's not the best design, I think, for this. It could have been done, I think, a lot neater. And this is why I wish that there were more pieces, just so that you could have a cleaner, slicker build, because the top of the cockpit looks really nice. I really like the design of that. I love the build techniques used for it. I love the interior of the cockpit as well, but just this bottom section is not very nice at all aesthetically. And like I said as well, if you're grabbing this from kind of the top or trying to move it around, it can fall over like this cockpit can open, and it just feels very flimsy overall. Taking a look though inside the cockpit, when you do open it up, you do have a little seat here, which is kind of all built up using one of those pieces, kind of like the mini dolls use, where you just kind of slide the feet in either side, and then you can fit in your Imperial Officer and kind of have him slanting back a tiny bit and closing that up, and he just fits in there like that, which is pretty good. On the side here as well, you do get this really nice cannon design, and I do like the way that the wings are attached and kind of articulated onto the ship. The wing design looks quite nice from the top. It is quite clean. There's not much to it. You just get a bunch of studs, a tile and a little tile here. It's just the underside that's not very nice. You do have these round pieces as well here, which makes it look quite clean. Same up here. I love how clean and neat all of this is. Like the interior and the kind of center of the ship all look really nice and finished off, as you can see. You also do kind of get these weird little hanging bits. Looking at the center wing, it looks really cool. It is kind of short and stumpy, I feel, though. It is definitely very wide, and you do get a lot of these really tall angled pieces, which I've only seen previously in 4+ Toy Story sets, but apparently they've been around since 1999. Completely blows my mind. But this entire thing is also built up using some Technic pieces and building off on the sides, and then it is all attached at this joint here, which is kind of hidden with some of those wedge pieces and grate pieces. pieces, and you can see a printed tile here with sort of a great pattern. Then to access the interior of this set, you do lift up this little piece here, and the entire console can kind of tilt up and lift around, and then you get access to the center, but you also can see a lot of these ugly red and yellow Technic joints kind of on the inside, but I guess you don't really look at them from the outside. It's only when you lift it up, so it's not that big of a deal. Now there is space to fit 2 minifigures, so you can fit Luke and Darth Vader both in this center section, although I do wish that Darth Vader did have that kind of spongy cape, because I just feel like that would make him fit in here a lot easier. So I'm not even going to try and fit him in there. I'm just going to steal the Imperial Officer and make him sit down so that I'm not ruining that cape. But you can fit both of them comfortably in there and close up the center function, and it all looks nice and neat. But other than that, there's not really that much room in the cockpit. You can see a lot of kind of Technic elements here. There is this little jumper plate, which I guess you can kind of stick something on. Maybe you could stick the blaster in there, but I'm not entirely sure what that is meant to be used for. But besides that, that's pretty much the entire ship. So that is the entire set, and like I said, overall I think as a playset this is really good. The ship definitely benefits from being lightweight and having less pieces. It's a lot easier to kind of lift up and move around. You don't feel like it's going to be as heavy, which means it's going to be easier to swoosh around. The figures are okay. I mean, I guess if you don't have any of the other sets, you do get 2 of the main characters from Star Wars, so that's really good. But I personally think it would be worth saving a bit extra money and just getting the Death Star final jewel, because you get pretty much the main figures of this set. You just don't get that Imperial Officer, but in that set as well, you do get 2 Royal Guards and Palpatine, and Darth Vader has the arm printing. So I feel like in that regard, it's a lot better. And that set is also a really good play set, but also works better for display, I think, than this one does. I'm glad I have this set. I don't regret buying it because I don't have an Imperial Shuttle, but if you've got one of the older ones, you definitely don't need this set. There's no special figures that I think would be worth it, unless you're trying to do a mock of Endor or something where you need multiple Imperial Shuttles, or even Battlefront for that matter. I think that's kind of a good thing for this set, but otherwise, this I don't think is very good for adult collectors or people who just want a display piece. I think if you don't have a shuttle, or you're looking for something you can kind of play with or use as a mock piece, this is what you're practically buying it for. I definitely don't think it's worth its price point. I would not recommend buying this at full price. I mean, I always say that with a lot of Lego because Lego is expensive. It's always good to get it at a discount. But specifically with this set, I don't think you're getting your values worth. You look at the X-Wing and you get 4 minifigures. Yes, one of them's R2-D2, which you'd have hundreds of at this point, but the figures in general, the other 3, are still more exciting. You get the new Leia with the skirt piece, you get Dodonna, and you get a X-Wing pilot Luke Skywalker. They're just a lot more interesting, I think, than the ones in this selection, and it is considerably cheaper. It definitely didn't live up to all of the expectations that I had for this set, which is quite unfortunate, but at the same time, it's not a complete regret for me. I think I just need to kind of figure out how I'm gonna work it around and incorporate it onto my shelf or something, because I definitely don't want it up in this landing position. In the future, if Lego is planning on doing another Imperial Shuttle, I would definitely prefer one that is more expensive. I do love these cheaper ships, but in this particular case, I think the sacrifices were a bit too much to get it down to this price point. I would much rather pay an extra $20 and have some better looking wings and have this bottom section look a bit better and some more interesting figures and things like that. So let me know your thoughts on this set. Do you plan on picking it up as well? And if you guys enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel down below. And until next time, I'll see you later.